You know what I feel like? I feel like someone who's on Ozempic, or this is the pint of ice cream I am having every night to get shredded. We are doing a rest day, full day of eating at 14 weeks out. So you've seen what I've eaten on a training day. You've seen what the diet kind of looks like. Rest days are very similar. Obviously, rest days are a day we're not doing the gym. So only difference here really across the whole day is my carbohydrates are lower, my fats are a tiny bit higher, protein is the exact same. But I'm going to show you exactly what the diet looks like on a rest day currently. Obviously, there's no pre-workout food, there's no post-workout food. It's just straight meals across the day, and hopefully I can give you a couple of tips and tricks along the way. Obviously, if you're on a diet or if you're in a push-up phase at the moment, we'll see if there's a couple of things in there that I might be able to help you out with. So for meal one, we're going to go through all the meals today. I'm just going to show you the meals, give you the macros, why I have these meals, of course, because I love every single meal that I'm having every single day right now. So meal one is my lovely omelette and sourdough. Carbs are still at a point I can fit sourdough into the diet. So we have 100 grams of sourdough here, toasted, and then we have in the omelette 2 whole eggs to get my fats in. Rest day fats a little bit higher, I can fit in 2 whole eggs, and then 3 egg whites to make up the protein. So protein's a little bit lower in this meal to start off, because there's not a whole amount of protein from eggs unless you're having a load of them. And then we have peppers and onions mixed in, and then on top we have cumin and smoked paprika, pink salt, low salt then for our salt, and then the sauces I use on top of this are light, like proper light mayonnaise from Aldi, and then a little bit of our 50% less fat, less sugar. I always say less fat, less sugar ketchup there as well. Tomorrow is my check-in day. I haven't had a food change in about 3 or 4 weeks. I'm probably expecting a food change come today or come tomorrow's check-in, so we'll see. We're going to get meal one into us and we'll check back in for meal two. Okay, meal two at 2. It's just after 2 o'clock. Meal 2 is going in. Prepped this morning. On the weekend and stuff, I like to just make sure I have food prepped, so if we do end up going somewhere, have somewhere to be, I have the food with me. If you have food with you, you're going to eat that food, you know. Problem is sometimes when you go out and about and you might be gone for longer than you think and you don't have any food on you, you start getting really hungry. You might be around people that are eating food that isn't on your plan and you can't eat. It's just giving us a more of a chance of slipping up and falling off plan. So I always bring 1 to 2 meals with me. Today I had 2 meals with me just for whatever reason, and this was one of them. Myself and Dan went for a coffee, so I brought meals with me. We could have been going elsewhere, but not today. So what I have here is 2 turkey burgers. We have 60 grams of dry weight basmati rice, and then a little bit of peppers and onions cooked with the turkey burgers, and then we have broccoli, boiled broccoli as well. On here then is salt, same again as meal 1, pink salt, low salt, and then I'm just using a little bit of ketchup here as well. Apologies, the sun is coming in. It is a nice day. This is just out the microwave. Again, if I was out and about, I would be eating it cold, which is absolutely fine. There's no problems with eating cold food. Nowadays, they actually have the electric lunch boxes, which I've yet to try. Not something I'm really bothered to try, but if you really struggle with eating cold food like this, that might be something to invest in, is an electric lunchbox for yourself. You see there, with meal 1, the volume was nice and high. You know, that kept me full for the last couple of hours. If you're having eggs, right, on your meal plan, and the volume isn't really there, you know, you're not really getting much out of the meal, start making an omelette. You know, you can get so much bang for your buck with foods if you just use them correctly and cook them correctly. So I really do recommend an omelette on the days that you might be at home. You know, you can cook the food right there and then. Other days, we'll have other meals. You know, a lot of the meals that I eat on a daily basis are food that I can take with me on the go with every single meal. You know, that kind of way. So I'm going to chow down on this and we'll chat to you for meal number 3. I'm basic with my sauces. This meal like doesn't even need sauce. The seasoned turkey burger, beautiful. So another bit of time is gone by, a couple hours to be fair, and meal 3 is going in. Again, I don't want to push food way too late in the day just because I'm just going to be stuffed. And I noticed that I've done it recently. I've left food go a little bit too late in the day, and I'm just like, just too full eating the last couple of meals, which I don't want to be and I don't need to be. Certainly at this point in time anyway, there will get to a point as the diet goes along where I will be pushing food that little bit later because food will be a little bit more scarce. But as of right now, I can still get food in nice and early throughout the entire day. Just at weekends and stuff, I tend to just not be as bothered with food a whole amount, that kind of way. The day just goes by. But this is my new kind of obsession. We have basically like overnight oats, right? Except I make them day of. I don't actually leave them overnight. So we have here 60 grams of oats, nice and volumized, just by water and cooking them in the microwave. And then on top, we have 35 grams of Perform cereal milk as a sludge, and then 200 grams of a mix between raspberries of 100 grams and blueberries of 100 grams. And then on top, that brown stuff there is cinnamon with my usual pink salt, low salt, as always. And this is beautiful. This meal, I don't know, my oat meals are probably my favorite meals of the day, to be completely honest with you. I also didn't give you a breakdown of the total macros, the total calories for the whole entire day. So what we're working for is 220 grams of protein, 270 grams of carbs, and 40 grams of fat. So as I said earlier on in the day, all we're looking at here difference-wise is less carbs, because we're not training, and slightly higher fats. Slightly higher fats. Not much. You would have seen in the training day, everything is pretty much the exact same. The structure of the meals might change a small little bit, to be fair. Like you would have seen there, I did my omelette meal first, compared to what my usual training day would be is a bowl of oats first as my pre-workout meal. So I'm going to tuck into this and we'll be back. We'll be back for meal number 4. I'll show you the consistency of like the overnight oats. They're like proper overnight oats. Beautiful. Meal number 4. I better give you a look at it. So we have another lunchbox. Pretty nice. Not gonna lie, my appetite today is just in the bin. I've got absolutely no appetite today for whatever reason. Fairly similar yesterday. Don't know what it is. Like this meal, I could happily just skip it. The hunger is not there, where it usually is, to be fair, but it isn't today. So on every meal, as I said to you, I do pink salt. So to give you a good indicator of how much salt I have per meal every day. Good bit, to be fair, a good little bit. And then we have low salt. The reasonings between the two salts: this low salt is just a lot higher in potassium, and then more so sodium than in the pink salt. Nothing that we need to stress about, okay? But it's just what I do, and I absolutely love my salt. And it also helps with getting water in. Like I drink a lot of water every single day, upwards of around 8 litres at the moment, especially on training days. And in here we just have actually orange and pineapple flavoured my waddy from Aldi. So in here we have 150 grams of raw weight chicken, just seasoned with a little bit of smoky barbecue seasoning. Doesn't need much, just a small little bit. We also then have a little bit of broccoli from earlier. Boiled, we have 60 grams of dry weight rice, and then we have, as you saw there as well, peppers and onions air fried. Already pre-chopped from the shop, very, very simple. This is like a staple, very, very easy meal. It's the typical bodybuilding chicken and rice, but it looks nicer because we have a little bit of peppers, a little bit of onions in there. Colour is a big thing, have colour in your meals. It's also going to make it look that little bit more appetizing, that kind of way. Yeah, I'm just not too bothered to eat this, to be fair, because we do have another 2 meals to go after this. So yeah, I'm going to try not to be eating too late into the evening, but I can't see myself wanting to eat again anytime soon. That kind of way? Usually during the day and stuff, I use like teas and stuff if I'm at home to like push through meals and stuff. Not really, but I'll have a couple of cups of tea a day with meals and stuff. Like today, didn't have any because I just needed to get the meals in. I'll have a Monster on my training days, and usually on rest days as well. Like I'll have a Monster there at some point. Today, just no Monster. We might have a Coke Zero or one of them later on, but right now I just want to get this meal in. I'll drink that water for the next while, and we'll crack on then. A little bit strange the way there's no appetite going in, but that's what meal 4 is looking like. I'll probably get a little bit of ketchup from the fridge. We'll see. Again, this is absolutely beautiful. Like, this is out of the lunchbox. Again, I do cook a lot of my food in lunchboxes, but at the same time, learn from my mistakes. You know, you don't want to go out, you know, and if you're out and about at the weekend with the missus, with the boyfriend, whoever the case it may be, with someone in the family, friends, you don't want to be going too long without food, you know, and killing yourself, because we can make it harder for ourselves, or we can make it easier for ourselves, you know. Have the food with you. If you have it there, you're going to eat it, and you're not going to go off plan. You're going to save money, you're going to stay on plan, okay? It's 7:45. I'd usually eat this meal at like 8:30 in the evening, but I just want to get it into me, and we'll see about the last meal then. I don't want to be missing meals, you know. It's unheard of, someone missing meals on prep, especially the likes of me missing a meal. But we've had to manipulate the next meal. It is usually, if you go back to my last full day of eating, you'll see exactly what it is. The quantities are just a little bit more on a training day. It's usually mince and potatoes and salad. I've just made a couple of little swaps now. Well, not a couple, just one swap, one main swap that I'll show you now in a second as well. You know what I feel like? I feel like someone who's on Ozempic, or that retrotrud, or whatever that thing is that people are starting to take now as well. Not that I've ever taken it, not that I know what it's like to experience it, but I can imagine it's an appetite suppressant. You know, it's meant to be a huge appetite suppressant, and I know of people who are starting to make use of it in prep. Cheating the system, lad. Cheating the system. Only caveat to that, okay? Great. You've no appetite. You can't eat a load of food on Ozempic or whatever other drug you want to use to help your appetite. What happens when you stop using it? You know, what happens when prep is over? What happens when you're trying to carb up and you can't carb up? So you're just going to be flat when you're trying to carb up, or if you're trying to have a refeed or something like that. That's the only issue I could see with having Ozempic or that other thing, is running into issues like that. The biggest issue I see is like what happens at the other side of it. You know, how long are you going to take that for? I think it could be fairly expensive as well, to be honest. Yeah, don't go down that route, lads. Do not go down that route. Just do what needs to be done in terms of your nutrition, in terms of your cardio. You know, that drug wasn't there until now it's there, you know, that kind of way. So do the work that needs to be done, you know, as easy as you possibly can. It will be a little bit tough as time goes along. We're only getting into it. We're only getting stuck into it. Wait until we're in the trenches of prep. We're watching food videos. Our food relationship is not in a great space, but it is what it is. I have good anticipations, I suppose you could say, for the way I'm going to be throughout this entire prep. You know, it's moving very smoothly. Go back, watch all the daily videos that we've been doing recently, or since the start of the prep. It's going to be exciting. You know, I have lots planned, lots in store for what I'm going to do with YouTube over the next couple of months, and we're going to have fun with it. I'm going to get meal 5 in. I eat a lot of meals every single day, you know, but as I said in the last setup, it just works really well. You know, it just works perfectly for me and my routine, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. How nice does that look? The mince is just nice and crispy. That is just perfect. Big tip for you. One of the most important tips is make that food nice. Like, put a little bit of effort into the food, you know, with a little bit of seasonings, and don't have boring meals. You know, I know there's plenty of people out there who just like to have the plain, simple, boring, but this is plain, simple, boring if you look at it on paper. You know, it's just mince, rice, veg, but like this is really nice. Do you know, that kind of way? So what we have here is our usual mince, 170 grams of mince, which is actually 180 grams of mince on a rest day, so 180 today. And then we have our broccoli and pepper, onion, again, the pre-sliced stuff. I usually have, as I said, potatoes and lettuce with this meal, but we're having broccoli and rice tonight instead. So we've 85 grams of dry weight basmati rice in replacement of our usual potatoes. I just haven't the stomach for potatoes tonight, and I think the rice will just digest that a little bit easier. And this will go down relatively easy. As I said, I want to just get it into me so I can let it digest nice and early. And we'll catch up with you for the final meal. If the final meal doesn't go in tonight, I'll show it to you tomorrow. I'll show it to you on the next rest day, I should say. But more than likely it will. You know, I'm just appetite isn't there today, you know, that kind of way. And unfortunately, we're filming a full day of eating. But this is the reality of it. This is a realistic full day of eating on prep on a rest day, that my appetite isn't that high, because it's probably going to be the last day that my appetite isn't going to be very high. The only day my appetite isn't going to be really high. But that is it. I usually do have, again, same as usual, a little bit of lighter than light mayo, the 11 calorie stuff from Aldi. I like on top of this with a little bit of ketchup, again, as always. Sauces, my veg is just staying consistent. As you'll see, I don't weigh out my veg. It just looks the exact same in every single meal that I have veg with. So that's the most important thing. Just keep your sauce, or keep your veggies consistent, your seasonings, your sauces. Don't worry too much about tracking them. If you're tracking your main things, all the big stuff, you know, like my protein, my carbs, my fat sources, yeah, I know you can say the veg has carbs. If I was eating a kilo of veg here, yeah, fair enough, but I'm not. You know, I'm just keeping the veg consistent every single day. I was keeping it throughout the gainer phase into prep. Small little bit of a bump when prep came along, but it stayed the exact same since then, you know, and I'm just going to keep it that way for the entirety. And if I don't, and I start eating more veg, I will start to account that for carbs towards my daily carbs, so we're not overdoing it with calories. You know, when Keen drops food and all of a sudden I'm adding more veg in, I'm not really actually sticking to the meal plan, you know what I mean? So that's what I do for meal 5. As I said, in my full day of eatings, Keen lays out the macros. I like to make the meals then from it. And as you can see from here, you know, yeah, I'm tracking macros, but a big tip for you is just do it like this. Do it like the whole foods in every single meal. You know, there's no snacking during the day today. There's no trying to fit this into my macros, trying to fit that into my macros, because you're just going to send yourself down a slippery slope. You know, I've done it multiple times. You could say it works. Every approach works if it's set up right for you, okay? Every diet works if it's set up right for you, but how long are you going to be able to sustain that? How long are you going to be able to adhere to that for? Is it going to be enjoyable? It might be enjoyable for a little while. How are you going to perform off it? You know, there's so many different variables that come into it that you're kind of like, is it worth it? Whereas if you're doing your food like this every single day, you're probably going to get the best out of it. You're going to get the most bang for your buck. It's fucking hot. We have here what is the final meal. I feel a little bit fresher now, to be honest. I feel a little bit fresher. It's like 18 minutes past 9. Final meal is going in. Now, you already know. It's the creamy. Let's have a look. Have a look. This is the pint of ice cream I'm having every night to get shredded. Basically, if you didn't see it in the last one, we have in here 35 grams of Perform cereal milk, and it's just water with that. So I blend it in my blender and then leave it in the freezer, let that freeze, and then take it out, put it in the creaming machine, and out it comes. I do then, if you've seen how creamy machine works, you like re-spin it after it comes out, because it's like all like crumbly, and then you put it back in, and what I do is I mix in cinnamon. So there's actually cinnamon mixed in there on the top. And like, it's crazy. It is crazy. The other addition that I do with it then, I create like a little hole. I don't know what this mug is, but I have 100 gram of blueberries here. Is that you, lad? What's the story? So yeah, I have 100 gram of frozen blueberries that I melt in the microwave. They go on top of the creamy, and it's like a nice little high protein ice cream to finish the day, and then to finish off my fats, we have 15 grams of dark chocolate, 85% dark chocolate, which I'm just out of, and we will get more of tomorrow. And that wraps up the full day of eating. That is everything I'm eating on a rest day. I'll take my nighttime sups. We'll run through the supplements, the full supplement regime, AM, PM, also in the coming videos, to give you a look at what I recommend in terms of what you could be taking, what you should be taking. And yeah, that wraps it up. If you enjoyed, if you found it helpful, drop the video a like, comment down below anything you want to see in particular over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months, and subscribe if you haven't already.